Welcome back to another episode of the Olivia Gamber podcast. And today is going to be a solo episode by yours truly. And I'm going to be guiding you through the 5 mindset blocks that are keeping you stuck from breaking through to your next level. And I see this every day. And now, after helping thousands of high achieving professionals, whether those are executives or C-level executives or business owners, I see the same patterns that keep people stagnant, keep them stuck, keep them shrinking, keep them playing small. And I think the higher you go on your career trajectory or your business trajectory, that you're going to realize it's more of a mental game and it's a game of millimeters. And so the first mindset block that I see over and over again comes from that high achiever, hyper perfectionist profile. And it's, I'm not ready. And so in this mindset block, you're stuck in the pattern of getting ready to get ready. I just need one more certification, or I just need one more course, or I just need to do a little more research, or I just need to get some feedback here, or I just need to get this person's opinion. I just need some more coaching. I just need some more information. I need to read more books. I need more time. Getting ready to get ready can be a pattern that lasts for years. It could last a lifetime. And it's an innate lack of self-trust, because choosing to be ready is a decision. It's a conscious decision, and it's a leap of faith. Because especially if you're trying to break through at another income level, impact level, you're going to not feel ready because you've never done it. So anytime you make a decision that you have no historical reference for, automatically that's going to activate that trigger, that fear, that resistance, and that need to feel safe and that need to retract. And so here's where I always tell our clients, listen, there's always 2 truths when it comes to readiness. You could choose to believe you're ready, and you could choose to believe you're not ready. Both are true. Which belief serves your goal? And sometimes we forget the power of choice. Everything is a decision. Every belief that we are holding is a choice. And we always have that decision to make. And so once you become conscious that you get to choose when you're ready, because if you don't believe you're ready, nobody else will. If you do believe you're beyond ready, and that you know you can do it, of course, others are going to believe it because you're transferring that certainty. So whatever we believe on the internal and how we see ourselves is what we're projecting out. And so this is the type of inner work and conviction required to break through, because it always starts with the belief. And if you don't believe you're ready, we've lost before we started, because that's when all the self-sabotage behavior is going to come through. You're going to start to procrastinate, you're going to avoid, you're going to over rationalize, and you're not going to take any action. And so this is one of those root cause beliefs that we see, those perfectionists that are always getting ready to get ready. And that may have served you well up to certain points on your journey, but to get to that next breakthrough, you have to have that level of self-trust and decisiveness to take that step and to take that massive action to be able to break through and elevate yourself to that next level. And so it's really counterintuitive, but being willing to continue to make that decision, I'm ready, I've got this, it's happening. And I used to do this all the time when I was starting my business, because I was just going through the jungle. I didn't always feel prepared. I didn't always know where I was going. I didn't always know if I was on the right path. But then I started to realize that avoiding failure just leads to stagnancy. Avoiding being able to make a decision leads to stagnancy. So good decision, bad decision, make a decision. And the more you trust yourself, the more decisive you become, and the more you take that momentum forward and you fail faster in order to iterate. And failing is the path to your destination. So the faster you make decisions, the more you can iterate and get more data and quickly evolve and get that breakthrough. Because anytime you're going down a new path, a new skill, a new process, of course, you're going to feel like you're failing. You're not failing, you're making progress. You're making momentum. You're gathering data. So starting to change the meaning of failure and not make it so intimidating is going to allow you to take that next step and say, you know what, I am ready. I don't need to protect myself anymore. I've got this. I'm taking that next step today. So I'm not ready is a decision. And it's a decision that most people do not make consciously. It's a subconscious pattern that's been running on repeat their whole life because they've been conditioned to never feel enough. And when you're never enough, you're never ready. And so being able to change that pattern and start to shift is a key to you getting on a whole new trajectory with your career. The second piece is it's too hard. And I see this all the time with people getting stuck at a certain level in their career because they have a limiting belief that that next level is just too hard. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be having all that pressure, right? And so they think it's hard to be able to elevate themselves. So they stay in that mid-level to lower level tier of operating where they're just in that grind and that hamster wheel and constantly having to deliver and put that labor in. And so it's not until you can actually elevate yourself where you're not paid by what you do, but you're paid for your presence. And it's actually easier to have $100,000 problems than $10,000 problems. It's the same amount of stress, but you have more resources the higher you go, more support. You've got a team. You're not expected to know and do everything. You're expected to be the one to hold the vision, set the strategy, and make a few business critical decisions every day. And so it's a completely different way of moving where you're operating more at that 30,000 foot level rather than grinding it out. So it's actually harder the lower you are on that tier of that journey, whether it's within an organization or running a business. And so just starting to think through, well, where did I get this belief that it's hard to up level myself? And where did that story come from? Because your ability to really think critically about the beliefs you choose, whether consciously or unconsciously, is really the key to your next breakthrough because our beliefs are driving 95% of our decisions. And the problem with that is we're not conscious of most of these beliefs. They're operating on our programming under the surface. And so it's too hard is something I noticed that I was addicted to because I thought I had a belief system that in order to get more, I always had to work harder. And that hard work was the solution to getting more income, more impact, work harder. And it's really not the case. And so it wasn't until I could see how that type of mindset and belief system has been programmed into me since childhood. And so that's where a lot of us have been programmed, right? Just work really hard and you'll get there faster. That's not the case at all because you've got to be evolving how you're moving. You got to be focused on the right things. You could be grinding all day long 24/7 and still not break through because you're on the wrong hill and you don't have the right strategy or the right target market or whatever. And so it's so important to realize when you're in that autopilot and not taking the time to take a step back and assess, why am I doing this? Always get back to why. because it's so easy to just get so caught up in our routines. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says this all the time, that 99% of our thoughts day after day are the exact same, that we're running on autopilot. So those thoughts then that are repeatedly thought over and over again become hardwired belief systems that drive our decisions. So it's not until you can slow down, take a step back, and reflect at your decisions and why you're making them. Now you're able to start to see what programming and patterns that you're operating on that just no longer serve you anymore. And so, do those beliefs align with your goal? It's too hard. Well, at first, everything is hard until it's not. And anything that should be great should not be easy, or everyone would have it. So it's coming to the truth of, am I limiting myself to protect myself? Or because if we don't grow and we're not evolving and we're not expanding, that's a recipe for a life that lacks meaning, it lacks purpose, it lacks fulfillment. It's the stretch, it's the growth, it's the challenge, it's the purpose of striving beyond our comfort zones and expanding our awareness, our ways of living. That's what creates the fulfillment. It's not the actual achievement itself. The fulfillment comes through the journey, because it's who you become, that you develop such a sense of joy and appreciation for that journey and for that outcome that makes it so worthwhile. Without the journey, the achievement is lacking meaning. And the harder it is, the more sweet the victory is, because of the dedication, the mastery required to get there. And you then have such a high level of self-trust and self-respect. And so even if you're just on your way, there's studies that prove that humans need that purpose and significance. And they need to be in the pursuit of something bigger than themselves. That's what gives our life purpose and meaning. And it's that continuous striving and pursuit and purpose that brings that fulfillment. And so whatever that is for you, always having that true north, that guiding light, that's your vision and your purpose and your mission that you're focused on, whether that's for your family, your business, your career, yourself, your health, your wealth, all of it. And so being able to shift, it's too hard and that's your choice, to, well, what if it doesn't have to stay hard? And everything that starts hard does become easy, just like at the gym. The first week it's sore, you just feel stiff, you feel out of flow. Then after a couple weeks, you're back in the game, you're in flow, you're actually enjoying it. The workouts are energizing you. And so it's all about that perspective and what you're choosing to focus on to make that decision. The third mental block is, I don't have time. And this is a big one because everyone's busy and everyone's got a lot going on. We've got work, we've got families, we've got priorities, we've got recreation, we've got friends, we've got obligations, we've got responsibilities, we've got so much juggling. And then you've got all the information flowing at you from all the social medias and the feeds and the texts and the phone calls and all the platforms. And it can be overwhelming. We get inundated with so much stimuli every day. And so the belief that I'm overwhelmed and I just don't have time is an addiction. So this is where you get to start to assess, well, what am I spending my time on? And what are my priorities? Because if you are not making time right now for your top priorities and what you value most, you're out of alignment with yourself. And you're putting others' needs and demands above your own priorities. And that's where you need to really work on getting your power back. So many times we operate under these old ways of thinking of, I've got to put everyone above me. And this is key for parents. We're constantly sacrificing for our kids and constantly putting their needs above ours. But at the end of the day, you got to eventually start to make space for yourself and your own goals, because you are the linchpin of your family. You are the one providing, you're the one supporting, you're the one leading your family. So of course you've got to pour in and put the oxygen mask on yourself first before your kids so that you're able to show up even more powerfully, fulfilling, nurturing, and provide that love and joy to your family. But if you're not joyful, you can't give that energy to them because you haven't given it to yourself. And so, in order to really prioritize yourself, you have to start to say no more and start to create stronger boundaries. And I talk to our clients about this all the time because it's so normal for people to constantly say yes to everything because they believe that that's the path to success, being a yes man or a yes woman. I just got to say yes to everybody and that's it. And what that actually does is the opposite effect because the more accessible you are, the less the perceived value because you're always available, you're always accessible. And then you end up becoming less respected. And so this is where it's a lot of work to start to learn how to create boundaries, learn how to prioritize yourself, learn how to have those difficult conversations so that you're not constantly drained at the end of your day and you have no gas left in the tank for yourself, for your family, or your goals. And this is the key. So we help people do this because it's not easy to shift how you're showing up, how you're holding those boundaries. And it's one thing to communicate the boundary, then it's another thing to actually hold the boundary and really stand on that decision. Okay, so then the other fourth block is there's not enough opportunity. This is more of a limiting belief that a lot of people have. It's too competitive. There's too many people that do what I do. There's not enough opportunity. The market's saturated. And it's like, well, first off, every market that's really good has a lot of competition. That's actually a good sign because it means there's so much opportunity. So if there's no competition at all, you might want to question going into that. And so you might want to start to think, well, why do I not believe that I can win in a competitive market if that's where the most opportunity is? And so and why am I blocking myself from my goals and my dreams just because I feel there's too many people doing it? And why am I already disqualifying myself from winning in something I really want to do? Because at the end of the day, this is what kills people's momentum, their motivation, their potential, because they already choose that they're going to lose before they even get started. And they never commit to the journey required to be the winner and to live like a champion. And so I think that when you say there's not enough opportunity or it's just too much, that's when you don't have a big enough why, because your fear of failure is bigger than everything, and that's what's driving your decision. So the real question becomes, why is it so important to you for you to break through in your career? Why is this the time for you to finally make that decision to make that next step? Because if you don't have a why pulling you past your fear, you're going to continue to make up all the excuses of why you will not do it and why you shouldn't do it. And it's usually fear of failure and fear of judgment. Those fear of judgment and fear of failure are the top fears right after death. And here's the truth. No one's paying attention to you. And you're lucky if they are, because most people are too caught up in their own lives, their own fear of judgments, their own fears to be worried about your missteps. So if you're allowing fear to drive the train on your decisions, you're going to continue to get more of the same, because fear only comes up when you're going to make a new decision. And fear is actually a sign that you're on the right track because it means you're doing something new, you're expanding. And fear is also a sign that there's huge desire on the other side of that decision. The problem is that when you've got that fear, it can be paralyzing and it could get you to go back to what feels safe, what you already know. And that's why so many people make fear-based decisions and they stay stagnant for so long. It's not until you can learn to take that fear and channel that towards your dream and channel that into action, that's what breaks you through. But most people take that fear as a signal that they need to stop. when it's actually the opposite. Because if you didn't even care, you didn't even want it, you wouldn't feel fear because it wouldn't matter. So learning to manage that energy and channel it forward, that's exactly how we help our clients, because it's the number one thing that keeps people stagnant and stuck. The last and most common belief that I hear from folks that keeps them stuck is, I'm too old. Who's going to want to talk to me? And I hear people starting to say this as early at age 40, because they're constantly comparing themselves to the people coming into the workforce, the millennials, the Gen Z, and they're already thinking, oh, they just want cheaper talent. Nobody wants somebody like me. And the problem with this is most people are starting to peak on their earning potential in their 50s now. So for somebody to already think that they're 40 and they're done is absolutely ludicrous. There's so many companies like McDonald's, IBM. I could list hundreds of companies where they are well-known, huge corporations that were started by someone in their mid 50s. And it's because at that point, you've been through so much, you have so much wisdom, you have the awareness, you have the experience, you have the mental restraint, you have the wisdom internally on how to manage yourself. And you've got so much that you can leverage at that point. So it's really all about, how are you seeing yourself? How are you talking about yourself? And how are you using age as an anchor around your neck, or is it your secret weapon? It's all in how you are positioning that to yourself. And the shift has to start with you. And I'm not here to say that age discrimination doesn't exist, because it does. But focusing on the people that want cheap young talent doesn't serve you, because there's plenty of folks out there that want people in here who have that perspective, that can bring that leadership, that perspective, and that wisdom to their organization, and that mastery. And so it's all a matter of where you choose, and it is a choice. You can choose that you're too old, or you can choose that you bring a lot of value and insight to the table. That's a choice. And so that's something, a mindset shift we help our clients with, because we have clients over 60, and when they get to that point, there's a lot of paranoia around their age, and it keeps them paralyzed in fear from taking those steps required to really break through on their journey. And that's why this game is 80% mental. When you're looking to achieve at a high level, everybody's capable, but not everyone can execute and take those steps and be decisive and trust themselves to really make it happen. So I'd love to hear if any of these resonated with you guys. Please follow me on social. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, all of the platforms, TikTok. I always love to connect to my listeners. So want to hear what your thoughts are, which one of these resonated with you. And I'll see you guys next week.